Well, moving on to a bit of the future, we have some updates from the Arizona Diamondbacks minor league system, and those have been a little bit more encouraging, especially when you see the way that Druw Jones is swinging the bat right now. There was, I think, a lot of concern about Druw Jones and his production, and just in general, how his process was coming, or how his progress was coming along in his development. But over the last month, he has been a much better baseball player. And right now,
Yeah.
I mean, he's been putting up some good numbers.
Yeah, Druw Jones yesterday went 3 for 5 with a single, a double, and a triple. He was just a home run away from the cycle. A couple of RBI runs scored. He walked in that game as well. He is now slashing 371, 450, 600 going back to May 17th. His 5 multi-hit games in that span. And he got off to such a brutal start that, it's taken a while for his season-long numbers to kind of tick back up. But as far as that's concerned, he's now hitting 280, 378, 424 on the season. Gets his OPS for the year just up over 800 at this point, down in single A Visalia. So, I released my my monthly prospect report a couple of days ago. If you haven't checked that out already, be sure to do so.
Absolutely.
I talked with D-backs farm director Sean Larkin not only about Druw Jones but a bunch of other players, and he was very excited about the progress that Jones has made. He talked to me about how Jones's direction looks better, which was something we touched on. You're starting to see him pull the ball a little bit more, which is something that he really has struggled to do early on in his pro career. Definitely some positive strides there for sure.
And of course, there are some very encouraging things from the minor league system when it comes to Adrian Del Castillo, which, as far as the season beginning, we talked about him kind of being a backup and what his role could be. And instead, what we're seeing with the Reno Aces is Del Castillo kind of develop into a real offensive threat. He went 2 for 3 in the series with a double, 1 home run, an RBI versus Brett Carey. He had the game-winning hit yesterday for the Aces, and he has hit 344, 392, 623 versus right-handed pitching this season.
Yeah, I mean his season slash line isn't that far off from that. 326, 375, 592. He's someone who really came out of the gate hot and hasn't really stopped. Adrian Del Castillo just continues to maintain this OPS in the upper 900s. And granted, it's the PCL. It's a really hitter friendly environment. You don't necessarily know how that translates to the majors, but he clearly has taken a big step forward this year from where he's been in the past. Last year he played 37 games in AAA, had a 690 OPS to finish off his minor league season. So. Does he factor into this Diamondbacks team at some point this year? I'm not so sure, but you have to believe it's possible as he just continues to do so much damage down there in AAA.
Another guy I mentioned earlier was Cristian Mena, and when we talk about Mena, he has been the Aces pitching leader by far. He is tied for second in the Pacific Coast League in strikeouts with 59 strikeouts. Third with opponent batting average is 243. And he's fourth in ERA at 3.70. So this is a guy that the Diamondbacks just acquired in a trade with the White Sox, and he very much has become one of the best players in their minor league system.
He really has. Yeah, I mean, putting up those numbers in the PCL is no joke. I know he wasn't quite as sharp in his start yesterday. 6 innings, 4 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. But again, in the PCL, that's still a pretty respectable line. He's pitching pretty consistently, at least fairly deep into games, 5 or 6 innings pretty much every time out. So yeah, you have to feel good about what the D-backs have in Cristian Mena, and it seems likely that he is going to pitch for this team at some point this year.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's in the next month. Maybe it's more of a September call-up situation, or I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. But as long as Mena is putting up these kind of numbers in AAA, he's already on the 40-man roster. It makes sense for him to find his way up here at some point.
According to MLB Pipeline, Cristian Mena is 11th on the Arizona's top 30 prospects list. So, I mean, and his stock has been rising for sure. So, and Elise says, call him up, see what happens. I'm not against that one bit. There was another question. Or wait, Jordan Lawlar. Let's get a Jordan Lawlar update. You got a Jordan Lawlar update?
Yeah, Jordan Lawlar it appears, let me check the transaction log here again. This is something that popped up earlier today. This is, yes, from today. Reno Aces sent shortstop Jordan Lawlar on a rehab assignment to ACL D-back. So that's the complex league. And this is what Sean Larkin had also told me when I spoke with him the other day, that Lawlar was going to get into some rehab games this week, and that he should be a full go coming back from that thumb injury in what would now be around a week and a half, maybe up to 2 weeks from now. I think you'll see Lawlar back out at AAA. And the Diamondbacks, the timing is maybe a little unfortunate here, in that Lawlar is set to return pretty much right when Geraldo Perdomo is set to return. So it doesn't really feel like there's a window for Lawlar to
be called up.
Yeah, to kind of be called up as out of need for the Diamondbacks. I think they're going to get Perdomo back, and they're going to be able to let Lawlar kind of take his time in AAA, which is probably the best outcome anyway. I don't think the D-backs were planning on sending Lawlar down to Reno and bringing him up right away in an ideal scenario. They wanted to see him get a little more comfortable down there, show over a long period of time what he could do, and then bring him up at some point during the year when the time is right. So still feels likely that Lawlar will make an impact in the big leagues at some point. Still feels like you're probably going to see him in the majors this season, but probably going to let him just stick in Reno for a while before that happens.
With the way that Gino is playing lately, and I don't mean defensively, but the way his bat has been, I mean, I could see them very much giving someone else an opportunity at third base. I don't know if they're ready to make that move yet, but I could see them, going in that route, because this team has not shied away from making those tough decisions at times. And in fact, one of the ways that they have gotten better over the last year has been making those calls to pivot to younger guys that are performing well in Reno and giving them an opportunity. So again, I wouldn't be surprised to see that. I just still don't think it's very likely, considering Gino is it's such an investment that this team made in him this season for him to solve their problem at third base. And unfortunately, he just hasn't been that for them, at least offensively. Right. But
not a huge investment like trade asset wise, but
I just mean an investment financially.
Yeah, financially he is making a decent amount of money. They have the club option, of course, for next season, which it kind of feels like we know how that's going to go at this point. You could also, the other question that we could ask here is, should the Diamondbacks give Blaze Alexander some more run at third base, as Gino is struggling?
That's a fair question.
Blaze has struggled in his own right in May. His offensive numbers have slipped. I think he's looked a little bit better defensively, although we really haven't seen him much in the field over the last few weeks.
Nor has he been getting very consistent at bats. So you don't really know until he gets consistent at bats. But we know that defense wasn't great at shortstop, and I don't know how it would be over there at third base. But again, I'm willing to take that opportunity. If he was, doing things at the plate, I would like to see this team try to shake things up. They need to figure out a way to get out of this slump that they're in.